lie. Welcome to the Players Lounge.
Welcome back, UteNation, to Postgame. I'm Cal Beck. Honored to be here with Mr. Zack Moss. I hope the tears have dried, the communities have settled their differences, and everybody rivaled right. Zack, I know you were at the game. What positives were you able to take away from the performance we witnessed last night?
Positives? We moved the ball really well. I don't think that was in question. It didn't feel like it though. Like watching that game, and obviously being there, it didn't feel like we just moved the ball at will. But when you look at the numbers, we did. We had over almost 500, total yards of offense, which when you do something like that, that usually is in your favor. But we had a ton of penalties, right? The same things as kind of showing up early in earlier weeks. We had some penalties there, 2 turnovers. And just couldn't figure out a way to get any points in the red zone, which we made a lot of trips, right? In a game like this is a game where, when you get down there, you got to get points, right? This is not, a game where this is a rivalry game, and this is not a regular conference game where, okay, maybe you go for it on 4th down a few times here, and it's different. This type of game.
And take the payout. I mean, you're on the road against a rivalry game. You were mentioning it's the largest attendance that they've had in 2 decades.
Yeah.
And the crowd was amazingly loud. It was thunderous. You have to have production at the end of those long drive yards. Our yardage was very impressive. Second time we've had a rusher for over 100 yards, but it didn't feel like it, just like you said. The turnovers killed us. When we are winning the turnover margin, we are 4-0. When we tie the turnover margin, we are 1-0. When we lose the turnover margin, we are 0-2. And we have seen that symptom of our offense. They do a lot of nothing. They spin their wheels. It's just like the fly jet sweeps that they ran series after series after series. Yeah, they're chunking out yards under their feet, but it's not north and south, and there's nothing being productive for it. On top of that, our offense and the defensive lines got manhandled. Our offensive lines did better than the defensive line, but the running game, it's not the go-to essence that we are used to seeing in Utah football. And that makes me concerned. That's why I thought they went for it so many on 4th downs, because they needed to establish that aggressiveness and dominance. But I'm going to say the weird, awkward elephant in the room and say we do not have a team identity. Our defensive toughness has been the hanging hat for Whittingham for years and Morgan Scally. We are injured there. Our offense is still trying to figure out what exactly they can do, and that is not a calling card you want to have going into such a hostile environment.
No, yeah. Going like you said, you go down there, right? All those points, you leave 9 points on the field, right? That's what happened. We left 9 points on the field, and as bad as the offense and D-line was, right? This game still was in reach to go ahead and take it, right? And I thought our defense played well enough to give us an opportunity to win. And when you leave 9 points on the field, right, to me that was the first one that we went for on 4th and maybe 2 or 1, something like that. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's the first time, right? You want to get that aggressive edge and kind of set that tone and all that type of stuff like that. I'm like, no problem. But then when we missed the kick, right, and they called timeout, and I think he missed it pretty badly, but we missed the kick, right? And then you come back out and you go, wait, I thought it was a penalty, once they put the offense back on the field. I was like, wait, this is 4th and 7. Did we know this is 4th and 7? And we just go out for it. I'm like, maybe if we had just a elite passing offense, I wouldn't even, flinched. But I'm like,
wouldn't bat an eye.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't have an elite passing offense. The only way the ball gets past 10, 15 yards is if Dan Pierre extends that play, right? Because when you just
which they relied on happening. They relied on that happening all night. They wanted him to run. This is one of those games that the stats do not tell the story, and the real problem didn't happen between the sidelines. We got out-coached.
Oh yeah.
We got
Yeah.
our coach. Jay Hill's defense
Oh yeah.
manhandled us. They dared us to run with Dampier, and they figured out what a lot of people have figured out. It's not a threat. We don't have an offensive calling card. There's a lack of identity. And that's not the thing you want to have happen when you're in such a hostile environment. Our special teams haven't been as reliable or consistent as they have been in previous years. So, I mean, you're playing it going in favored was extremely surprising due to the metrics. But if we're going to
Yeah.
talk about analytics, which Whittingham was echoing in the post-game conference, that going forward on that 4th and 7, analytically, someone's math is off.
Yeah. I'm happy you brought that up because I had forgot about that. Last night I'm riding home from down there, right? And I turned on the post game, listening to Coach Witt, right? And he kept harping on analytics, right? And I'm never one to question someone in their profession, right? Because that's not mine, right? But as a
Mhm.
player, right, and understanding how strong analysts have become in all of our sports, right? I think there's a time and place, but for me, right, this is just my opinion. For me, if I'm a coach, right, and I'm an ex-player, right, which Coach Witt is, I'm an ex-player. Now I am a
Mhm.
coach at the same time with and things of that nature. He's seen a lot of ball, right? So it's hard for me to question him and things of that nature, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. But in a game like this, in which he's been a part of this game for years, for a long, long time, in a game like this, analytics kind of go out of the window, especially on 4th and 7, right? Like the first
Anything can
one,
happen,
it,
and that's why we love football.
yes, like the first one, if you tell me analytics, I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I get it, right? The 4th and 7 one, there's no way in hell that I'm going analytics. Whoever's telling me that, like, this is a gut call. We're kicking this field goal. He missed it the first time. Cool. I got to go and trust him again because we're not picking it up on 4th and 7 because we just had 3 downs before that and we couldn't even get 3 yards. We couldn't even get 4 yards. So what tells me
Is-
now on 4th and 7, I know we're going to get 7 yards now when they know we have to play it. And I know they're not going to just jet up the field here. They're going to contain him enough. They don't care if he held the ball. He had a lot of
Mhm.
time back there in the pocket. They didn't care, right? Because they didn't believe anybody downfield could make those plays consistently enough to win this game, right? And that's what we
Correct.
talked about all year is who is going to be the guy to make Dampier look more, right, than what he is, right? And he's a really good player. And this game essentially is not on him, right? We got our coach. Absolutely. No
Mhm.
question about it, right? But the scheme of the offense, right? I'm watching it and I'm just like, man, I've played in offenses, right? Even in the NFL, I've played in offenses where our passing scheme tells us we're not able to throw this ball downfield like we want to. Like it's all 5-yard routes or routes to the sticks, right? And things of that nature. It's nothing. It's no real like elite concepts here. There's no mesh routes. There's no crosser. There's no ends. There's no. It's like I'm
There
like,
was no
man,
setup the series prior. There hasn't been shown on film. They're not prepared for it. The analytics thing, I get it, just like you said, but is pulling your kicker in that situation analytically more safe than giving him that shot on 4th and 7?
yeah, you got to give him that
Analytically,
shot.
if he drops 5 down linemen, do you continue to try to run the ball? And also analytically, if you start having to sub in another quarterback whose specialty is running, analytically, is it more predictable?
Yeah, and he touched on that about them having a 2 QB package, right? And
Mhm.
I was on the field, and Dampier got banged up somewhere in that second half where he couldn't run anymore, right? I don't think
Mhm.
that 2 quarterback package was going to be as prevalent as it ended up becoming. But once he couldn't run anymore, right? Like he was on the sideline right in front of me, literally right in front of me, and I'm just looking. I'm like, okay, it has to be his ankle. Like he's hobbling, he's trying to give off a little push, and it was nothing there. And he mumbled something. I couldn't recall what he said, but right after that, when I saw him, he went on the field again, and here comes Fick with the two QB package and things like that. So I'm like, you even become even more predictable. We already are, right? We already are. Now you put Fick on there, who hasn't thrown a pass, right, in a very long time.
Mhm.
And we know he's not going to throw a pass in this game, right? So now you just go out there and you ask him to run the same plays. It was the same jet sweeps that we kept running. We kept running jet sweeps over and over, right? Like, I know what an offense looks like when you don't have enough, right? And I understand Beck's game plan, right? But when you're going against, it's a chess match. When you're going against the other side of the ball and they know all you can do is pass the ball no further than 10 yards. Like I'm like coaching my wife just a little bit on the sidelines with me. And I'm like, look how low the safeties are. That's disrespectful, right? Like, you have no one to stretch the field. Like, the safeties, I'm like, look, the ball's on the 24. This guy is standing on like the 35. Like, that is just nasty work. Like, they don't care about anybody going deep, right? And they know they got time to get there because it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 type of a five drop step, and kind of just now here comes stuff. They got time to get back because they know that he has to extend it. If we want anything past 15 yards, it has to be an extension. It has to be off of Derek Carr. And I told my early in the game, I was like, man, we're running him a lot. And he was taking some hits, right? Like, and I knew he was gonna get banged up because this game is way more physical. Like, this specific game is more physical than any other game they're gonna play all year, right? And we talked about it.
Rightfully so.
And we talked about it a little bit, right? Like, a lot of these guys, it was their first time in this game. They didn't I didn't feel like the energy and the effort because I was on the sideline again, and I saw a few guys, trying to, like, they were they were in the mode, right? And it was just like snapping on each other, trying to get, you're like, yo, come on, like, all that energy and stuff like that. And I was like, man, you can't, if you got to do that now in the second quarter, third quarter, whatever it is, like, if you got to do that now, you got to get off the bus ready to
It's
go.
too late.
This is a
It's
game
too
where
late.
no one in this stadium is for you, right? You got your small little sea of red, like it's like a little river over there. It's not even a sea; it's a river, right? You got your small river over there. This is the game where you got to bring your own juice. Like, you can't be trying to get guys ready, pumping them and things of that nature in the third quarter, right? Like, and that's why I said, like, okay, I don't know if these guys fully understand like what they're walking into, right? Like,
And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. And the analytics that made me think of with that is who has more in-state players on roster and who understands what's at stake, specifically on the coaching staff, because that coaching staff down there is from Whittingham's tree, is from McBride's tree.
Yeah.
They have lived in this culture. They understand why the old heads still call it the Holy War. And that's not something you pick up on in the second quarter. And that's one thing that I've noticed we haven't been able to do is pick it up in the second quarter. We haven't been able to, if we don't come out of the gates and do well, that sets the tone for the rest of the game. And like you said, if you're not getting off the bus excited for this one, you may not have any business getting on the field.
Man, I was so pissed because obviously I've never lost to that team, right? And now that I'm like removed almost all the way from football, and obviously been removed from Utah football for a couple of years now, and like actually now being more ingrained in it, having more time to be, I'm like, yo, you can't lose to these guys. Like, you just can't. And I'm not even from here. Like, I'm from Miami, right? So, like, and that's why I said, like, I've learned what this rivalry is, like, and the pride and all those different things that come with it. And I didn't think and feel like the guys that we had, just with the huge turnover, right, that they were that ready to go and down there, because it's different when you play BYU at home. Okay, great. They come in the Rice Eccles. We got our juice. We got our fans, yada, yada. Okay, got it. But, man, when you got to go down there and you got to figure it out for yourself, right? Like, there's nothing the coaches can do for you, right? This is where you got to take ownership of yourself. You got to look at yourself and be like, yo, because this is college football, right? Like, you play Arizona State last week. Right now, they had a nice little win themselves yesterday, but when you play Arizona State, that's Big 12 football, great, but it's not the same as when you got to go play Utah versus BYU. That's not a conference game. That is in a whole different stratosphere in itself. Like,
That's a
things are.
backyard brawl.
Yes, exactly what it is. It's going to be.
I mean, I dreamed of playing in that game from 10 years old, 8 years old, and on.
Yeah.
I had to go to school and be ridiculed because we couldn't beat them. I had to take that where it was ingrained in my childhood, my upbringing, and my experience. The one time they won when I was a kid that I first remember was in 1988. It was called the Rice Bowl, and we won 57-28 at Rice. And I didn't understand until I saw the fans' reaction. And then I was like, okay, this is possible. This is possible. And McBride comes in, does his thing. We gain momentum. McBride got hired off of the two main goals. You beat the Y, and you win as many other games as you can. And he was able to establish that and move forward.
Yeah.
Then you have Urban Meyer come in. He was a spark that this program needed to go from we're content to contenders for conference championships. And then Whittingham takes the reins, and he is the greatest Utah coach in history. And I was very pleased and honored to play with him. And he took the program to the heights that we have gotten acclimated to expecting. But I'm going to say the brave thing and say, we as fans or as a community, maybe even the players, have bought into the hype too much. We are a mediocre team due to injury, due to coaching, not lack of coaching, but being outcoached. We are a mediocre team in the conference and have won one conference game at home in the last 2 seasons. That is not a calling card that a successful, dominant program can hang their hat on, specifically without an identity on offense and a defense that usually takes pride in their aggressiveness and physicality, and injuries have made that an impossibility. There's some things that have to change. We all know Whittingham is gone after this season. I'm curious and have been wondering for the last couple of months and through last season, have there been some executive coaching decisions that he has let the coordinators make and he's wrote it out to give them the opportunity to getting used to being in that situation? Was it analytics, or was it we've got to establish something here? I don't know, but it's resulted in the same thing for the fan base: frustration.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you next week, 8:30 garbage podcast time. These late games are garbage. They're not for the fans. It's not for the community, and it's not for the team. It is for the money of the broadcasters. I would be very surprised if that stadium is half full, even though they will still announce that it was another sold-out game to extend the record.
Yeah.
But there is nothing really that we can hang our hat on as a team. And unfortunately, now that the game has changed and more with NIL money and the transfer portal specifically, I am starting as a fan, unfortunately, to start to think, who is going to transfer after this season? Who is going to leave to go seek bigger and better meadows? Because that might have been the lack of intensity in the rivalry, is that home state advantage on the roster, because not a lot of people can understand that. And when you have a high turnover on a roster, just like the NFL, is there any NFL player that is on a roster because they want to be there or because they're getting paid for it? And unfortunately, that's something as a fan, I look at the roster and the productivity on the field and start to ask. Like, I'm not doubting anybody's passion, but at the end of the day, when you play for your pride, and that is the biggest thing you have on the line, there's a little bit different of an approach and an intensity if there's no other payout but the rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely. Every point you just hit was spot on. Like, winning one conference game in 2 years, that'll make someone sick very, very fast.
It makes me sick. Being a former Ute, thinking of Rice Eccles Stadium being that vulnerable and not being a house of shock for any opposing team. I don't know how to fix it. But we have to move on in a lot of areas. I think Coach Beck needs to move on from an offense that was successful in the Mountain West Conference. I think that some other coordinators need to look at what they have on staff. That onside kick last night, if it was any other season over the past 15 years, I would have bet we get it.
Yeah.
But our special teams haven't been up to snuff that we have gotten acclimated to as fans.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to buy in when there's a lack of identity.
I will say this. I went to practice because I wanted to see. I haven't been to a practice in probably since week 1 or week 2, right? But I went to this practice because it's BYU week, right? And I'm like, I know what that looks like, right? I know what that entails and things of that nature. And they're just out there in shorts, and shells, right? The intensity didn't look crazy to me. The coach's intensity was there. I felt like watching the same people I know. I felt like Shaw and all those type of people, like their intensity was there. But this type of a game, man, I just want people to fully understand, like, this game, you have to be immersed in it. Like, I'm sitting up there in the stands, right? Because I want to be immersed in it. Like, I know what it feels like now to be on the field doing this. Now I want to see what it's like to be up in the stands. And I'm sitting next to some kids, man, and the kids are asking so many questions. Like, what's going on in this? And the parents are telling them, and they're like they're, like you said, like they're being ingrained in a certain way to understand this game. So that way, if they ever go play a sport, they know, hey, from the time I'm 8, 9, 10, something like that, like, we know we don't lose to this team, right? Or we don't like this team, or whatever it is, right? And for so many of our players, and I touched on it, is our skill players, right? Like, I feel like we have a lot of guys that are from in-state that might play, offensive line, defensive line, things of that nature, where the impact isn't, you can't have a huge impact on it because you don't touch the ball, right? But our skill players, like, when I played, we had a lot of skill players that were from here, right? And I just remember I walked through the facility the other day, and I didn't see, that rivalry game on the TVs. I didn't see it, right? I recall seeing it everywhere. It didn't matter where I was walking through that facility, I saw it every single where, with all those TVs that they have in there. I didn't hear it. I didn't see it, right? And I deliberately went on a Thursday just so I can see, okay, what type of intent are these guys coming to play with? And it just seemed like they just got off the bus. And again, it's hard to critique them because if you just look at the stats, you're like, oh man, they moved the ball, they just didn't finish in the red zone. No, you have to have really sat there, watched it, understand what Utah football is, and kind of see where we're at right now. Beck definitely has to evolve this offense. I love the different things he can get to, but now it's about let's make who we are. Like, every offense I've ever been a part of, we always know this is what we're good at. We're good at this run, this pass play, this, and this. And then we'll sprinkle in some other things to give us a little bit of diversity. I feel like this offense is just diverse. It's just everywhere. We do so many little different things, but we don't hone in our true thing that we're really good at. Like, I like the 4th and 1 that we went for, the first one. Identity tells me, if I'm on the field, right, if I'm playing, and I knew our identity when I played, right? When I played, our identity was, we're going to give the ball to number 2, and he's going to get a yard, right? Like, that's what we're going to do. Like, when I was in Indianapolis and we went through a new coaching change, right? We had to figure out what our identity was. The year before, we had no idea. We won like 4 games. We had no idea, right? The second year in Indianapolis, we get a new coach and all this type of stuff. Our identity was, we're going to run this ball. Didn't matter if it was myself or Jonathan Taylor. Like, we're going to run this ball. I remember we played the Ravens, and we had to go down to Baltimore, right? This is, in a sense, not similar, but you can envision this, right? We go down to Baltimore, right? The Colts and the Ravens have a history because they swapped cities and things of that nature, or whatever it may be, right? But we go to Baltimore. It's raining. It's wet, right? All this different stuff. But we ran the ball 4 straight times on a 4th and 1 and got it. because that's our identity. Our identity is not going to be like, oh, analytics say, we know they're going to pack the box, may not be our best option to run up the middle. In this type of game, none of that stuff matters. It's man whoop a man, right? Like my best players versus your best players. And that's all it can be. Right now, next week when you play Colorado, great. I don't have a problem about analytics because it's not the same intensity, right? This game is you got to be able to go whoop that dude in front of you, right? Like that's the man you have to beat. Every time he lines up in front of you, you need to go and beat him. And he needs to know that you are beating his butt every single time. He needs to know that you cannot tackle him every single time. He needs to know he cannot guard you. Like all these different things that way you have to take into that game, right? And like, I don't know. Coach Witt made some, I don't know if it was him making the calls. Like you said, we don't know if it was outright him making these fourth down calls or if he's giving, a little bit more leeway. Because I know back when I played, there was no leeway. Coach Witt is making this call. This is he wants this. This is what he's getting, right? It was him. And he would go at the offensive coordinators, and I've seen it, right? I've seen, just guys take off the headset because it was too much, or I've seen him actually go at him. He's been really relaxed, essentially, in my mind, right? A little bit this year of how he's doing things, and that obviously leaves you to think, okay, is he giving more leeway? Is he getting these guys a little bit more used to being in control? Because when Scally takes over, it's going to be a lot of different moving pieces and question marks and who's taking over roles, right?
And I noticed that last season, and that's what got me thinking along that track. I mean, it makes sense for him. There is nothing more for Witt to prove. He could win another big game, get deep into the playoffs, but his legacy is set. And if he is going to give a smooth transition, at the end of last year, it would not have been smooth at all. There was too much turmoil. Yeah. And I'm glad he didn't call it then. But if he is on his way out, it's not that far-fetched to think that he is relinquishing some of that control because it's of no loss to him. And the game has changed since he's established what he had done as a coach. Absolutely. There's a lot of coaches, but Nick Saban left the game for it. Who would have thought that you had Whittingham and Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State in the position they are now 3 years ago? Nobody would have expected that. Yeah. But the game is changing. The players are changing. The coach, everything is changing drastically. So it's no surprise to me that we have a lack of identity. And as fans, we can't tell opposing teams, I dare you to stop this push. I mean, we don't have something to hang on and say, this is Utah football. We've always said defensive toughness. It's been a long time since we've been known as Sack Lake City. Yeah. A long time. If I asked you who's the fastest offensive threat, if I asked the common fan, they couldn't tell you who stretches the field. Yeah. So I know that's not our identity as well. And the special teams, we do great on special teams, but it hasn't been as reliant as we have gotten spoiled with. As a fans, we have witnessed some extensive and great experiences, specifically with you on the roster, of what Utah football could do. I would have never imagined as a kid that I would get to play on a Utah football team that would be ranked 8th in the country at the end of the season. Like, that was mind-boggling. Yeah. We just wanted to beat the Y. Yeah. The Sugar Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the stuff you guys did, a 10-year decade dominance of the TDS. Like, that is upper echelon program stuff. And if you're going to continue to grow on that, you've got to stop playing mediocre football.
Yeah. I think to kind of just, for me to give the fans a good look intake of it, right? We're not saying Coach Witt needs to be fired. Right? Like, that's not what we're saying. That's not what essentially I've seen over social media, particularly last night, right? Because a lot of emotions were on Twitter last night. But so we're not saying that, right? But like you said, the guy Gundy, who was in Oklahoma State, right? There is a time where all good things must end. It's life, right? There is a time. And the time and space that we're essentially in right now is different than what Coach Witt or a Saban or all these different guys coached in like a 2015. Just take 15, right? 2015 to 2025 is a totally different landscape of football in college,
Absolutely.
right? So the things and the way you try to win football games, let's just talk about just the way Coach Witt tries to win football games. He's a defensive-minded coach, right? That's controlling the clock, right? No turnovers, running the ball. Obviously, it's time possession stuff, it's special teams, and flipping the field. That's his style.
Create turnovers and have a deafening a threat of a blitz package.
Yeah, like that's his style. You really can't win too many games nowadays with that style. Not to say his style doesn't work or anything of that nature, but to go where you want to go now, you have to be able to score a lot more points than what we're accustomed to, essentially, in the style that we play, right? And I think, I think he did allow Beck to come in, and Beck has been really good, essentially, in my estimation of his first year, everything coming with it. He's been good.
His first year analytics are approvable.
Like, absolutely. But he's been good, right? I think with a fresh look, obviously, I think, like you said, last year, if Coach Witt would have left, I don't think that would have been what was best for the program. Absolutely not, right? To bring in Scally another year and kind of just let him work behind the scenes or whatever he's doing also in another year and kind of seeing things and doing it that way, I think this has been the best thing. But after last night, right, I think if you win that game, I don't think many people I don't think we come on here and we kind of talk about what next year looks like, right? We don't talk about that. I think we're talking about something in a total, like maybe running the tables or something of that nature, right? But we're not talking about, okay, is it time? Because the way that game went and the way we were out coached and the way Kalani and those guys kind of went about coaching that game, right? It was in a different aspect, right? And it makes you just wonder. It's like, okay, I wouldn't personally myself, I would not be mad if Coach Witt came back for another year. Me personally, I would not, right? I think in the last 2 years, the injuries have sucked. This year, again, we've had some, not just like we've lost some really good players. Like we have, like some guys that was really going to have to contribute at a high level. We've lost those guys. But that's part of the game. So I can't be like, it happens to everybody. And you have to, as a coach, that's where, you get all this recognition as a coach. How much are you able to out-coach those things, right? But I do believe I am also in the same boat as a lot of people of, is it time for Scally? It could be, because I don't want another year, right, to happen where you lose a game or two, or you lose another game to BYU.
And you wait for that transition. I mean, when is it time to move on? There came a time when the wishbone offense dominated college football, but we had to move past it in order to be successful, unless you're Navy.
For me, only reason I say is because you set back Scally. I don't want Scally to get set back, right? When it comes to the recruiting process, when it comes to the NIL process, like all these different things, right? Like if you lose another, like essentially this season is technically over unless we get a ton of help, right? Unless some guys in the conference just fall apart at the back end of the year and we somehow keep floating.
The analytics state the season is what it is.
Yeah.
And all we really have to look forward to is sending Witt off on a good note in a bowl game where a lot of players may opt out of playing because the transfer portal is now set in January.
Yeah.
That could hurt their possible income. But we get to look forward because bowl games are now basically an alpha spring scrimmage.
Yeah.
The young cats on the bench get to do something before they go home for Christmas or before they start their next official year on the roster when they're not redshirted.
Yeah.
That's what the bowl games have turned into. Whereas when I played, winning a bowl game was the next step.
Yeah.
And McBride went off on that amazing streak of bowl game appearances. And then Whittingham continued the streak after Urban of wins in bowl games.
Yeah.
I mean, we ended up winning 11 11 bowl games in a row, maybe 13. I know the number's up there.
Yeah, it was
But
definitely
we're not playing that type of conference football anymore. The game has changed.
Yeah.
The rosters have changed. I am on the other fence of you as far as if Whittingham wants to stay on staff another year, because analytics, I would question, is it holding back the program when you're not giving those the chance to flourish? I mean, last night, in my mind, and I love Morgan Scally. I love him to death. His kids were on my track club. I've shaken hands and hung and spoken with him many times over the decades. I love Jay Hill. Jay Hill was my backup for a spring before my career ended. Like, I love them both. But there came a point when Whittingham had to decide who was going to be the future face and coach of this program. And if Whittingham doesn't get out of the way and let Morgan take his shot, people are going to start thinking he made the wrong choice. Just because Jay has experienced a lot more success in that head role at Weber State and being the coordinator that outcoached us yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter last night. And that's why I say I don't want him to get set back. I don't want Scotty to get set back, because it's not just who's going to have the best recruiting class now, right? This recruiting stuff deals with money now, right? And you know, like next year, you lose a game or two and you're out of this thing again, right? Unless you were shoveling a lot of money, which the team down south is shoveling a lot of money into the athletics right now.
You can see it in their apparel choices.
Drone show. They had people doing crazy stuff on the field. The flags had, I've never seen, it was a spectacle. I will say that. Like, I was in awe and kind of had to put my phone away because I had to remember I was on, you know, our sideline, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. But, you know, like, just what they're doing with the NIL stuff, you don't want to set Scally back. You know, you losing another game to them, right? Or just losing a game or two and you're out of the conference championship game again, because that is for recruit. If I'm a recruit and I see that, right, especially now, right, and man, Utah's talking about giving me $4 million, right, over, you know, say 1 year, give me $4 million, but BYU's telling me I can get 6 or just say 5.5, right, just to come over here. I might go over there right now because now they're on a 3-game win streak, right? Say that thing pushes to 4, right? The same way we were getting all the recruits in that 10-year decade push, right, when there was no money needed to be had. It's going to flip. It's going to change. More people are going to continue now to even push even more money into BYU than they ever have now, because they understand the NIL part of it and how that translates to what does the roster look like and what does winning look like, right? If you look across the landscape of football in college, the teams that have the biggest NIL payouts are the ones essentially doing all of the winning right now, right? And you got to be able to play on that field. And having this in-state rivalry, right, being, you know, 45, 50 minutes down this highway here, that is huge, because if you lose again next year, Coach Wick comes back, you lose that game again next year at home, right, in the conference, and now you say, okay, I'm going to turn over to Scally, he can be behind the 8 ball when it comes to recruiting, how hard it is, how to continue to get these best players, all these different things, and losing all these kids to the team down south where, man, you talk about, you know, we won 9 straight, right? They can easily push that to 10, 12 because of the monetization of it now, right? I cannot recruit you with my pockets, which for me is way more scary than just getting a verbal commit from a guy and trying to, like, you know, show him different little small things. Like, for me, to get me to come to Utah, all you had to take me was I just went snowmobiling and I was signed. Right? Like, now you got to do a lot more than that now to get a kid to actually stay at your school. 1, 2, even if you do get him enrolled, to not flip on you and go down the road. We've already seen that.
Yep. It's the pride of why you're on that roster and writing it out and supporting the student athlete for 5 to play 4 years is gone.
Yeah.
Especially when you have private investment firms starting to buy up collectives and to shovel even more money into it because they realize that they can make money on the back end of the broadcasting deals. They're already doing it in the NFL. And now you're starting to see what was in the NFL is now the league or the NCAA. And what was in the NCAA is now trickling down into the high school.
Yeah.
First round draft picks and draft picks used to earn their money in college. That's how they would get their paycheck for that draft pick.
Yeah.
Utah is one of the only few states that has approved NIL in high school. So now you have kids in college earning their NIL paycheck by what they're doing in high school. And I already know of several programs in the Valley that are offering monetary packages to families for them to transfer schools. So that homegrown community pride, fight with your brother who lives next door, and you used to pick on each other. You played stickball together. You played Little League together. You were in the same classroom together. That is gone.
Yeah.
And that it makes sense why there was no wind in some sails for that. Now, when I stepped on campus, the first thing all the vet heads would say is, do you understand? Yes, I understand what's at stake. I understand. And I wanted to be in that position. And there was no monetary gains from it. It was a matter of me being able to walk away from my football career and say, I have a 66% winning against them.
Yeah.
You never lost to them.
Yeah.
That is bragging right. That's what it was about. That's what you want. That's what it was about. That's what it was about. In the NFL, you see it in extreme rivalries. Well, players like James Harrison will say, I kicked the shit out of those teams because I hated them.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying hate is okay because we need to rival right. And that's why I stay quiet all week. But it's deeper. It's deeper for me because I lived it.
Yeah.
And you contributed to it and have lived it. And the game is morphing into you. There might be the business aspect of you can't get too emotional about this because it's a long season and you don't know who you're going to play. And it's a business. That's the one thing that hurts my heart the most. The amateurism of the sport is evaporating.
Yeah.
And with it, those things that we hold dear.
Even the super small thing, just to cap off that part, even the super small thing. I went inside the locker room last night after they came out after halftime, and you just look around the locker room, right? I remember we used to wear exactly the same things. There was no, oh, I'm gonna stick out like and I know because I tried, right? Like I tried, and not even in like fashion or something of that nature. It could just be certain super small little, like, oh, I'm gonna just wear
wristbands, eye black,
something so small, and Coach Witt would nip that in the butt, right? And it would never come directly from him. You know, it trickles down to your position coach, and it's like, hey, you can't do that, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, like you're killing me. You worry about this, like. But anyways, it's even the small things that I noticed that now when I'm like, oh man, it is different. Like guys are wearing, I believe it was Dampier, and none of these things should matter, right? When people listen to this, right, it shouldn't matter, but it does matter. Like it does. Like if you played in a certain program and it's ran a certain way, it matters. Like like not saying these guys are individuals, but the individualism, right? It does look different, right? Because we played in where it was all team, everything. Everybody dressed the same. If we got on these shoes, the pants we're wearing, right? All this different stuff. This is the book bags we're wearing. I saw guys with Gucci book bags, right? And I'm like, I'm like, in the NFL, that's like whatever, it's duh, right? But
that's what you do.
But in college,
that's your calling card.
I'm like, oh man, who said this? Like, I would have never even fathomed or thought, right? One, they didn't have the money, but two, it's just like didn't even think about guys. Like I saw other programs doing it when NIL stuff came out, like definitely like USC's and things of that nature. Like I saw that, but now I'm seeing us do it, which I understand is the times, but even that
catching up with the times.
Yeah, like that tells me things have changed. Like it has changed, and it's so small, but things like that do matter. And not saying the other teams don't do it, they obviously do. But for us, the success we've had has come strictly a certain style, which I think now I would love to see what Scally does and how he kind of looks at it and how he takes the reins and, what's acceptable, what's not, and what changes from Coach Witt. But we're in a different time. We're in a change right now. We're not in the super dominant times right now. We're in a change right now that is inevitable and it's going to be here upon us really, really soon. But just those things that I'm seeing, I'm just like, man, it is different, but like it goes into the rivalry. Like, guys, if you don't understand this game, like, you have to be ready to go. Like, there is no excuse. Like, I saw guys talking about, well, we love Coach Witt. I think it was Dan Pierre. We love Coach Witt, giving us those opportunities. We just didn't capitalize and things of that nature. Like, man, I know dudes, we were pissed if something didn't go our way. Like, pissed.
And because it would affect you. And I've got to close out, but I'll close with this. It wasn't that long ago when Whittingham's calling card is, you will change for us, we will not change for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's his calling card and it's no longer playable or up his sleeve, that could be a very significant sign of the times changing.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make apologies to all of the diehard fans out there that have to sit in the pews today and go to work tomorrow and deal with people that don't rival right. But it is what it is because we care the way we do because of who we are, and that's our calling card. And it's hard to watch what transpired yesterday outside of the lines. Even the poor tackling, which I tried to avoid bringing up, but poor tackling has become a calling card that I am not too proud of on defense, and it needs to be fixed. That's fundamental football. That's fundamental football right there.
Yeah.
If you can't tackle, you're not going to make any gains. So, Zack Moss, always a pleasure, sir. Good luck on your somersaults practice and tumbling class. And as always,
go
Utes.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening today. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more UteNation podcasts and coverage.
Welcome to the players' lounge. Yeah, when no other moment, man, it can't compare.